Hi everyone, I'm going to have a quick chat with you about how you can support children and teenagers with their friendships. This is a massive topic that I could talk for hours and hours and hours about. So don't worry, I'm not going to talk for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to try and keep this short for about 5 minutes or so. So let's see how I go. So friendship is just really, really hard some of the time when you're a young person. So a quick check-in with where children and teenagers' brains are at. For the first 25 to 30 years, our children's brains are predominantly operating off emotion and impulse. So they're naturally more socially clumsy than adults are, and it can be really challenging for them when the bigger part of the brain is the emotional part and the thinking part of the brain is the smaller part. So while they're still developing, in the yard, things will go wrong. As teenagers, things will go wrong. This is part and parcel of the challenge of living with a developing brain. And for those of us who are parents and educators supporting them, that's also our challenge is how do we support them through this and in a way that is really constructive for them so that whatever our response is, most of the time, nobody can consistently do any of these things every single day, day in, day out. But when we can, if we're able to support them in ways that leads to their growth, to the development of more social emotional literacy skills, then we're all winning. So every time something goes wrong in a friendship, it's a fantastic learning opportunity. So if you're a parent or an educator and a child has come to you with a challenge with their friendships, the first thing they need to know is that you're on their side, that you're there for them. You might say things like, this just sounds really, really tough, and I can see you're feeling really upset. So when we show empathy, when we show that we're there to listen and that we're supportive of them, even if they've really broken an important social emotional literacy rule, they did that because they're still developing and they make mistakes. So to keep them connected with us, we've got to show them we understand that. So that's the first thing we want to keep in mind, is that we want to express our empathy and compassion so that they keep talking to us and so they see us as an understanding advisor to them. So the next thing we want to do is really look at what's going on for this young person. What social emotional literacy skills might they be missing? Because that is the best consequence for challenging behavior, for conflict in between children, is to teach the missing skill. And when we look at social emotional literacy, there are thousands of things that we need to learn, and many of them happen unconsciously. You know, some children are gifted with that ability to be keen observers and notice what's going on around them and be able to then develop the behaviors that are pro-social. But for many young people, for whatever reason, whether it's because they're a little bit more energetic and adventurous and impulsive, or because they have some difficulties understanding social situations, it might be neurological, developmental, for whatever reason, no kid is going to pick being out there in the universe with their friends, with their peers, with their siblings, and engaging in conflict or saying and doing the wrong thing. No one chooses that. It's where you might find yourself for whatever reason. So we want to check some really key social skills. What children need, you know, first of all, we've got a role model, great social skills. So for us as educators and parents, we've got to try and be the best kind of friend we can be and make sure that they see that in us. So compliment your friends, compliment other people, focus on the good in others. Then highlight all of the great socially skilled people around you. So if you've just spoken to someone at the grocery or to a friend or a family member, just briefly say, oh my goodness, every time I talk to that person, it blows me away how friendly they are. They're always smiling. They just look at me and I want to talk to them. Whatever it is about the people in your life, highlight it, point it out to them, celebrate it, show it's what you value. So what you're doing is, even for those kids who struggle with their attention and focus, you're really bringing it clear, bringing it home to them what it is that makes someone socially, emotionally nice to be around. So highlight those things, be a great model, speak positively about others, don't gossip, all of these things really highlight those crucial tools. One of the key things that our children need to develop, and teenagers, and it's just hard for them, right? Because they're just still learning. I wish I had a magic wand. I wish I could fast forward brain development, but because I can't, we just have to go in with compassion for ourselves and also compassion for young people. Empathy's, it's the winner, right? And we've got to support the development of empathy in our young people. And one way we can do that is by showing as much empathy as we can for them. So even when we're saying no, when we're establishing boundaries, when they're having a tough time with their emotions, if we're able to, when we've got the emotional capacity to do it, say to them, I can see this is hard for you. I really feel for you. I get why you want me to say yes to this. It's still a no, but I do understand. So the more we're able to express empathy through hearing that and feeling that, our children have opportunities to wire that into their experience of life. And then we want to point out empathy. So we want to point out to our children situations where you're feeling empathy for another person. If another person is struggling, rather than judging, we want to show empathy. We want to say, you know what, I know that person was really grumpy and rude just then. Gee, they're probably having a bad day. And just highlighting that there's always something else going on under the surface, and being able to develop that empathy and compassion for others is crucial. There's lots of ways we can do that, and I'll do a separate chat about empathy. The other skill is knowing how to join in with your peers. Some kids are fantastic with adults, and they get these great responses for adults for their fantastic social skills. Like, I was working with a little child, and they were so excited to show me, their maths ability, and they showed me this sum that my brain was, let me tell you, just completely unable to process. But they're proudly showing me this. And of course, as an adult listening to a 6-year-old who's basically solved more maths in that moment than I learnt at school and university, right there and then, I was impressed. As an adult, I was impressed. And I said to this 6-year-old, that is incredible. I want your brain. I don't even know how you do that. You clearly work really, really hard, and you've got a real passion for maths. Now, that's my adult response to a 6-year-old. I then said to this beautiful kid, I said, hey, and by the way, I don't recommend you go and show other kids that you can solve this maths problem, because that 5 minutes that we spent totally was like wowzers for me. But that's me as an adult looking at that. Other 6-year-olds are probably not as interested in that maths problem. And then I highlighted to them the things that they could talk to other 6-year-olds about. So some children have got fantastic skills for adults, and adults then go, wow, that's so interesting and amazing. But then they go and deliver it to their peer group, and it sounds like showing off to them. So making sure that they understand that wherever they're at, whether it's early childhood or teenagehood, that we enter social situations seeing ourselves as equals, going in assuming that all the other people in that situation want to be seen, heard and valued for who they are. They want to feel connected. They want to be able to form some friendships, and not going on about the things that we're highly skilled about unless it's of interest to that person. If it's in context of the group, great, talk about it. So with joining in, ultimately, initially, that whole can I play thing is really challenging, because the other kids can always say no. So we don't want to set them up for failure. I've gone over 5 minutes, haven't I? I mean, I just can't do it. I can't stick to a short amount of time, and just stop listening if you've had enough. I'll try and keep it short. So, when we're blending in with a group, we don't want to go straight into that, can I play? What we want to teach our children is how to blend in. So by blending in, I don't mean by being like everyone else, don't panic. What I mean is to be able to observe for a moment, increase your proximity, and then put that other person on the agenda. So rather than their needs, initially a really great social skill is to come up and say something like, that looks like fun, or compliment the other child, or even better, if there's a game going on, get them to learn the art of joining the losing team rather than the winning team, because that losing team's feeling really vulnerable and they might need your child's extra input there. So teaching those sort of tools around how to join in a way that gets you noticed for really positive things, but you don't come and boom in and step right in on a game that's already existed. You want to slowly kind of come on in, observe a little bit, increase your proximity, say something nice to the other people, tell them the game looks interesting, anything like that. And they're developing the skills, but also they're connecting with others at that time. I want to just finish up. There's just so much I could talk about, and I will in another episode. But the other thing is conflict, because this is a really, really hard thing, right? It's hard for children. It's hard for teenagers because, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, developing brains make clumsy social decisions. They're impulsive. They sometimes say and do things they regret. So we want to remind our young people that you really can't stuff up kindness. If that's the main social skill you operate off, in your friendships, just try to be kind. Think of the kind thing to do. And when you're in conflict, understand that friends disagree. It's normal. And the best thing you can do is give each other some time for tempers to cool down. So it's really important for children to know that tool. It's okay to say, I'm just feeling really upset. I think we both need some time. Can we talk about this tomorrow? You know, these are crucial life skills that they'll be so glad they have when they reach adulthood and they're in workplaces and marriages and relationships and friendships. So we want to teach them, what do you do when you're upset with a friend? Well, remember, in a conflict, everyone involved thinks they're right. That's why there's conflict. So the best thing with developing brains where they're primarily operating off emotion is to give it some time. So we want to teach them those emotional regulation tools, like walking away, like taking slow, deep breaths, like going and doing something else, and learning how to say to the friend, you know, really developing those skills to say, I really like you and I want this to work out, but right now I'm feeling really cross and I think I might say something I regret. So can we have some time and then let's sort it out? So we want to give those tools around that. We do not want to get involved in our children's conflicts with their friends because we do not have the complete picture. Our role as parents and educators is to be beautiful listening set of ears where we show them we're there to listen and we hear they're upset, and then to help them start looking at solutions, kind solutions. We don't want to get into that spiral where we're talking negatively about their friends or we're talking negatively about other people's children, because that's not good role modeling either. We don't know. We just don't know, because most of the time we're not there. So what we want to do is be supportive of them finding a resolution. We want to keep an eye on it because there could be bullying going on. There could be a whole bunch of things, and I'll talk about that in another little post another time. But we want to hear them out. We want to keep an eye on them and make sure they're okay. And at the same time, we want to show them that they have enough expertise to come up with some solutions with your gentle, empathic support. So I hope that's been useful. There's so much more I want to talk about, but I need to go for my next appointment. I'm sure you've had enough anyway. So if you enjoyed it, please remember to like it so I know that I'm on track for you, and feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you join me. I will talk heaps more about friendship. I hope that gives you a good start, and I wish you a beautiful day. Thanks for listening. Bye.